Chapter 5. Worm Bin Manufacture and Assembly.
The materials used, you'll need one 24-inch by 25 and 3/16 inch 12-gauge steel plate, 10 6-inch by 7 and 13/16 inch 12-gauge steel plates, 8 6-inch by 6-inch 12-gauge steel plates, 4 12-inch by 9-inch by 9-inch triangular 12-gauge steel plates, a couple of brass fixtures, a 3/4 inch female garden hose to 1/2 inch female pipe thread adapter, and a 1/2 inch male pipe thread to 1/2 inch brass barb. 2 washers with an inner diameter between 1/2 inch and 5/8 inches. 1 10-inch by 11-inch metal paint spreader screen, and a 14 1/4 inch square of aluminum screening. The tools used, you'll use a measuring square, a Sharpie, a drill press and a hand drill, a 3/4 inch hole saw, and a 1-inch annular drill bit, a grinder with both a cutoff wheel and a polishing wheel, a welder. We used .035 wire and various metal clamps, a table vise, a Dremel with a grinding bit, and we also used a metal shear.
Previous fabrications of Hortodome included a worm bin made of wood. The first one was made out of a bookshelf that I bought on the street for $10 a few blocks from where we were doing the first build. There were some obvious problems with this design though. While the wood was an ideal material for the worms, it didn't seem very well suited for worm tea reclamation. In the second fabrication, we even lined the wooden worm bin with vinyl sheeting, leading to a central drain for reclamation. For this fabrication, we've decided to build the worm bin out of welded steel. We're really interested in seeing what aggressive worm bin watering can do as far as worm tea production, which goes right back into the fertigation system. Aggressive watering should not be confused with overwatering, of course. Earthworm reproduction, distribution throughout the bed, and production of castings throughout, particularly within the bin from which the worm tea is reclaimed, is something that sets this platform apart from being just a garden. Mike uses the same poster board template he used for the manufacture of the worm bin lid, as he now transfers the outline onto the 24-inch by 25 and 3/16 inch steel plate with a Sharpie. Mike uses a grinder with a cutoff wheel to remove the excess steel, which he sits aside. He also marks an 11-inch square centered on the large plate, a 2-inch square in one of the corners to be removed, as well as across the peaks of the 4 12-inch by 9-inch by 9-inch triangular pieces. The peak will be trimmed off, leaving a level 2-inch edge. The worm bin has a series of graduated portholes along its side walls. There are 4 pairs of opposing portholes, with 2 of the plates left alone.
2 plates have holes centered 1.5 inch from the top. The following 2 have their holes centered 2.5 inches from the top, followed by 2 with holes centered 2.5 inch from the bottom, with the final 2 having holes centered 1.5 inch from the bottom.
You can either repeat this step for another 4 plates, or you can clamp the plates in pairs neatly and drill them at the same time. Or if you're really paying attention, you can flip 2 of these sets and clamp them with their match, and you might only have to drill 2 stacks of 4 plates. Whether you decide to drill the portholes one at a time or in 2 stacks of 4, wear appropriate safety attire and drill a total of 8 1-inch portholes. Mike starts the welding process by welding the peakless triangles into a capless pyramid. He uses a number of magnetic braces and clamps to keep things in place and square. The worm bin walls are laid out around the base plate to make sure they're in the correct corresponding order before they're welded into place. The bin is then turned over so the pyramidal drain can be welded into place over the square hole. The 2-inch square is welded to this capless surface where the drain fixture will be attached. After the bin has had a chance to cool and can be worked with safely, drill a porthole for the brass fixture and washer combo to be installed later. This step can be postponed until after the stand has been welded on, if you'd rather do all the welding at once. Previous worm bin stands were decagonal as well. Given the recent modifications to the worm bin strain and its deeper pyramidal shape, there were some recalculations that hadn't been changed for the stand. Mike improvised a design change, using only 8 of the stand plates. I can't see why it isn't better, as this design allows for the drain hose to move freely between any number of plates as opposed to the specifically cut notch provided before. Now we'll make the drain screen. You'll want a fairly rigid wire mesh as your form, and I found a metal paint spreading screen is actually just about right. The screen is only going to be around 10 inches by 10 inches, so trim off any extra mesh and/or frame if necessary. I'll be using this shear. Now we will cover this mesh form with a tighter metal screening. Place the 10-inch square mesh across the metal screen to be cut. Give yourself some extra at the corners so that the flaps will be enough to just fold over one another. Cut out the larger screen square and fold it around the mesh form. When you know everything is centered properly, crease the screen around the form to help keep it in place.
The washers need to have an inner diameter large enough to slide over the 1/2-inch male pipe thread on the brass fixture. Ours weren't quite large enough, so I used a Dremel with a grinding bit to increase their inner diameter. You'll need to do the same for the 6 washers of the same size in the following bed manufacturing section, so you can go ahead and do all 8 now and set 6 aside for later.
I didn't find a brass fixture that did what I needed it to, and if I installed this one as it is, an additional inch of worm tea would collect in the pyramidal drain before it drained. I decided to carefully remove the unnecessary top of this piece with a grinder and cutoff wheel, followed by some polishing to level and clean up the surface. Now you can install your worm bin drain brass fixture with the 2 remaining internal diameter widened fender washers. The drain screen should be installed with the unfolded side up and should sit comfortably in the inverted pyramidal drain cavity. And that concludes the worm bin manufacture and assembly portion of this DIY Hortodomi instruction.